department has a name for it because they don't want to call it unemployed. There's a new name for it. This is away from work. Away from work. They're not unemployed, they're just away from work for the past 8 months. They're just away from work, away from a living, away from a wage that they can depend on, away of managing to pay their mortgage, managing to pay their rent, managing to pay for their family's existence. Let Ireland live! And with that too, we face a no-deal Brexit. But hey, that's no big deal, because the ESRI estimates that we're going to have economic growth next year of 3.4%. Oh yeah! They're the only social research institute in the world who believes there's going to be economic growth next year. God bless them. 3.4% growth in the middle of a pandemic with 200 and 300 billion euro in debt. Yeah, that's not very likely. That's not very likely. But as I said, the question is, what are they going to do about it? Well, I'll tell you what they decided to do so far. They've decided to create money. They've decided to create money out of nothing.
We've heard that before.
Now, this is not a new thing, by the way. This is not a new thing. This has been going on for centuries, where the banks create money out of nothing. But it is usually used to leech off the supply and demand economy, the real economy, the people who work, the people who make things, the people who produce things, the people who take care of people, the people who actually create. It's normally in that direction.
It's robbery.
But now they reckon you can stimulate a dead free market economy by simply saying, hey, we've got another €1 trillion. Where'd you get it from? We made it up. The US Federal Reserve says, hey, we've got the solution to America's economic problems. We're going to create $2 trillion. Where are you going to get it from? We're going to make it up.
You're going to give it there.
We're going to make it up. And by making it up, everything will be fine. No problem at all. And of course, it's not going to affect the value of the euro that you have in your pocket, that they just print $1 trillion more. It's not going to affect the value of the dollar, that they print $2 trillion more. I'd like, ladies and gentlemen, to be able to put what €1 trillion is in layman's figures. But bloody hell, it's €1 trillion! Nobody can put that in layman's terms. And so, we have a malevolence behind this. And this is something that is very difficult for people to face. The idea that their own government, the idea that their own public health service, the idea that their own political leadership would not only be incompetent, but would positively be malevolent and malicious towards them. And yet that is the case. Because if we look at any given person's actions, and they don't make sense, how do we factor why they're doing what they're doing? We factor it by its effect. We can assume that what can be anticipated as the effect is what they intended the effect to be. So if you know somebody in your life who makes everybody around them miserable, and you don't understand why they do that, I answer for you. They want to make everybody around them miserable. It's as simple as that. You're dealing with a mindset coming from China's Communist Party all the way to Leinster House. You're dealing with a mindset. Leonid Brezhnev had a conversation once with Richard Nixon about Mao Zedong. And they're the same people who are in charge of China today. And they're the same people who are charting the course of where this country is going to. He had a conversation with Richard Nixon and he said, Mao, he said, oh, you can't deal with Mao. He said, you know what he said to me at the last conference we had? He said, I'm not worried about a nuclear war. There are 900 million Chinese. There were 900 million then, there's quite a few more now. Some of them are even Lord Mayors. He said, there are 900 million Chinese. If 600 million of them die, there will still be 300 million left. That's the Chinese communist way of thinking, and it's being brought to our country. That kind of madness. That kind of madness. Where you go, so long as the goal is achieved. Who cares if 600 million die, so long as 300 million useful people are left. And I have said this in speech after speech after speech long before this crisis, that the only value that the government places upon you anymore, and the only value that the European Union places on you, and definitely the only value that the international finance capital places on you is your value as a producing unit or a consuming unit. And if you're producing a net negative, they want rid of you. And that is why, that is the real reason why COVID-19, insofar as it did impacted hugely in the nursing homes of Ireland, where literally they killed off the elderly that weren't of any use anymore. Order! 2,676 people died with COVID since the beginning of the year. 666 children were murdered by abortion in that same year. And nobody batted an eyelid. And nobody closed anything down. Nobody stopped the economy. Nobody said there was a panic. Nobody wore any masks. Nobody socially distanced. And they were sliced to pieces.
Slaughter.
These are the people that we are to believe have our best interests at heart, that they care about lives, born or unborn. During the run-up to that referendum, the far right, that is to say, myself, the far right warned the elderly that if abortion passed, they would be next. That was a conspiracy theory. What a hateful, horrible thing for Mr. Barrett to say in the middle of an abortion referendum. How divisive and hateful, and how nasty he is, conjuring up these fears for the old people of the nation. Inside in that house right this week, they are going to pass a euthanasia bill to do precisely what I told you they were going to do.
Let Ireland live!
Let Ireland live! Let Ireland live! Let Ireland live! Micheál Martin is not the Taoiseach of this country. He's just a land land agent. He's a land agent collecting the rent for the absentee landlord, just as he used to live in London. Now he lives in Brussels and New York. He's a land agent. And I won't tell you what used to happen to people who were land agents. It was a risky business. But I might be accused of threatening behaviour. And I don't want to do that because poor old Micheál, he doesn't really get it. He doesn't really know what's going on. And that's true of the vast majority of these idiots in here. That's true of the vast majority of these idiots in here. Mad as a box of frogs. Most of them. And I would like to address a few words to An Garda Síochána.
I'll give it to them.
No. No.
Hang Drew Harris.
I'll put off.
Where's the no?
Nobody believes the Irish Examiner article that any senior guard in Ireland believes that we are part of a terrorist organisation. You don't believe it. We don't believe it. The writer of the article doesn't believe it. You're the guardians of our peace. Yes. You are of us, and we are of you. We are the Irish people. And I have been accused, the National Party in general, but myself personally, of an intention to collaborate with An Garda Síochána if the National Party ever comes to power. Now, first of all, I'm flattered by the assumption that we will come to power. Second of all, I want to assure An Garda Síochána that we have every intention of collaborating with you on law enforcement. Yes! We have every intention of giving you laws that are enforceable. We have every intention of giving you the equipment and the numbers to take on the criminal gangs, not the people who are walking around breathing in fresh air. We want to collaborate with you. We want to collaborate with you on ending actual crime in this country instead of standing around trying to keep nutcases from attacking people in the street. And we will give you judges. We will give you judges that pass the sentences worthy of the crimes that you have gone to the trouble of investigating and prosecuting. Yes. Yes. And we will give you the prison places in which those convicted will go. And not that you find them turning around in Mountjoy and back out the door, looking at you in your Garda car and laughing in your face on the way out. We will support our law enforcement because we are a party of law and order. Yes. When the laws make sense and the order is not chaos. But we understand that you have a difficult job and you have orders and you're being given orders by the box of frogs. And what are you gonna do? So we will try to be as understanding as we can in the meantime between now and when we become the government.
Please God!
We're going to be trying to be understanding as we can of you having to carry out the orders that you have to carry out. It's not the first time that I've been in this situation, so I'm quite familiar with trying to maintain, shall we say, civility in an atmosphere in which it's been decided in higher places that my right to free speech is not permitted. I'm sure Some of the guards here are aware, they've been told before they came down. I've been arrested 11 times under the Public Order Act. 11 times. I have never once taken a Garda's name, and I have never once taken a Garda's number, because I have absolutely no intention of pursuing anybody for just following orders. But I will say this. For any member of An Garda Síochána here who fancies himself a promotion, there's an opportunity when we get the Royal Irish Constabulary out of the leadership of An Garda Síochána. There's a commissioner's position in it. Are there any Ned Bryes out there? Are there any Ned Bryes out there on An Garda Síochána who are willing to stand with Ireland? Because Ireland in the end will win. Ireland will live. I think there's an air raid down there. It's probably the Germans.